Hi, I'm Dennis Washington from Cross Digital and CrossDig.com with your weekly pep talk. Act, not react. It's one I remember growing up as a kid. One of the articles I read, it was, one of those Dear Abby type articles or something, and someone had written in complaining and whining about how somebody had said something or whatever, and the point of the story was you're reacting, you're not acting. You're reacting to the circumstances around you. You're unhappy with what has happened to you instead of trying to take action and create a positive approach ahead of time. A good friend of mine works for Alabama Power in their PR department, and one of the things that they've worked on over several years is this concept of acting, not reacting. It's real easy during a storm when the power goes out to start blaming the power company for it, even though we know that thunderstorms, lightning, winds, tornadoes, whatever, they can cause damage that cannot be prevented by any human being. But instead of talking about how many customers are without power and keeping track of that number, they also, more importantly, track how many customers have had power restored as they start the process of recovery. And they also encourage people to tweet pictures and send photos of power crews doing their job. And all of a sudden, you get a much more positive experience coming out of that when people are talking, when people are excited to see power crews show up to get their power restored, and then they celebrate when their power is restored. It's how you frame the argument. You're not reacting to a situation, you're acting. You're being proactive about it. And that's one of the things that brand journalism really, really does well. If you read my blog post that just went live a few days ago about 3 examples of crisis management, certainly the number one example in that story we talked about was Buffer, one of my favorite social media apps. Really, really useful. They had a hacking incident a few months back that could have been extremely detrimental to the company, but the way the company was proactive about it and got ahead of the story informed me before any social media or news organization, any tech blog could have had the chance to inform me. The company was already informing me of this hacking incident that was very serious in nature. The company was prepared. It had a crisis plan. When it's not a matter of if, but when something like this happens, they were prepared to respond, and they executed perfectly. And there are other examples in that blog post that you can read at crossdig.com, but the point of the whole story is having that plan and being prepared. And as brand journalists, that is one of the key things. If you've ever worked in journalism, especially in the television or radio news industry, but even in newspaper, print journalism, whatever, you understand that there is a time that comes when breaking news happens. And you have to be prepared as an organization to respond quickly and get the information delivered as quickly as you can. You have to gather information quickly and then turn around and deliver it just as fast, because you've got viewers that are expecting that from you, especially if you're an established news organization. If you're successful, you've gotten there because you do respond to breaking news extremely well. You get the facts, you don't report the gossip, you try to confirm as much as you can, and then you get it delivered quickly and easily to people in the way they want it received. Which now with the internet, there's a lot of different ways people receive breaking news. But you have a plan in place, and that's one of the things is I teach brand journalists and teach companies that are considering brand journalism and hiring and coaching them on this, is the importance of a crisis communication plan. You've got to be prepared to deal with something that unexpected. You've first got to expect the unexpected to happen and try to predict it, and then try to also have a plan in case it does or when it does on how you're going to respond. If you don't, you're just playing with fire. You're just asking for a disaster to happen. And in the case that I shared on the blog, these companies were prepared and came out much better on the long run because they executed their crisis plan. They didn't sit around. It's the same reason like with the tornado drill. When a tornado warning is issued and the meteorologist on TV tells you to go to your safe place in your home, that's not the time to look at your spouse and your kids and say, where is our safe place in our house? The time it takes you to figure that out, it may be too late. You need to immediately go to that safe place. You need to today on a sunny day, try to figure that out. Same reason you do fire drills. So when a real fire happens, you already know the exit out of the building. Have that crisis plan. Be prepared to execute it. Have no misunderstanding about who does what when that crisis happens. Act, not react.